We're going to be checking out 5 ways British and American meal etiquette is very different. Yeah, I'm interested to see the 5 different ways we're going to see here. See how you guys in America are eating differently to us. So yeah, let's jump straight into this and see what we got.
They hear your accent and you are American. Their ears might prick up a bit thinking, here comes a payday.
What? Is he on about like servers?
Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to how we eat, dining etiquette. It's so important, especially when you're meeting your American family for the first time.
Right.
I'm not talking from experience, maybe just a bit. Cultural differences around the dinner table don't just come down to the words we use, like chips versus fries.
Oh, yeah.
All the dishes that we serve. So, you know, America's pecan pie versus Britain's spotted dick. And that is an actual dessert.
Listen, right, yes, spotted dick is in the UK, but I've never known anyone to ever have spotted dick. I've never had spotted dick. It's not, like, common.
Okay, look it up, just not on your work computer. But it's also about some of the mechanisms that we use to get it into our mouths. I'm still talking about food. And also some of the customs and politeness norms that comes with the process of eating. And so without further crab rangoon, here are 5 ways that British and American eating etiquette is very, very different.
Right, let's see. Number 5. Utensil etiquette.
Whether you call it cutlery, like we do in Britain,
right,
or silverware or flatware, or in this case plasticware, because, you know, we are rationing, we can all agree that without them, meal times would be very, very messy, especially in America where they put sauce on everything. But the real question is, how do we hold them? And this was part of my existential crisis after I moved to the United States, because I grew up learning the European style, or as it might be known here, the continental style.
Right, before we go into holding them, right, because I like these videos because apparently I do a lot of American things. I hold my fork and knife. I hold my fork in my left hand and then my knife in my right hand. Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm referring to what is the official utensil etiquette, right? As opposed to the official American etiquette. And I'm going to show you, I think anyway, some of the differences. I personally don't have either etiquette completely down because, in my wife's words, I still eat like a toddler. But it mostly comes down to how we hold the fork.
Okay.
In Britain, you hold it kind of like that, I think. So you've got it, the end of it's touching your palm, and then you sort of grasp it with your thumb and your pointy finger.
I've seen if I've got like a fork, but do I hold it like that?
Finger. And it's there for pointing downward, right? And you stick it into the potatoes or the strawberries or the spotted dick. And notice it's in my left hand. That's going to be important.
I don't know. I kind of move mine around a lot. I kind of use it like as a spoon kind of as well.
The moment. And in the other hand, you have your knife, right? Usually like this with the pointy finger.
Yeah,
right
I hold
there,
it like that.
And it's touching your palm again. So consistent on both hands.
I don't know if they're touching my palm though. I think they go out of my hand. I don't know.
Right? It's almost an extension of you. You're almost Wolverine, but from the United Kingdom or Europe. And then you do this, right? Usually at a lower level. You wouldn't be able to see it because my arms are off screen now. So I'll put them back there. And then you cut into the potatoes or the strawberries or the creamy spotted dick. I mean, you can come with custard. That's normal. And voila, and put it in your mouth. There's nothing on this. This isn't that scene in Hook where they eat invisible food. It goes this way around.
I'm pretty sure I do something similar to that.
Right, with the tines facing downward toward your tongue. In America, it's quite a bit different, right? So people will hold their fork like this, with the tines facing upward.
See, this is what I was saying, like a spoon. So, like, sometimes I do it that way as well.
In other words, to kind of scoop up the food.
Yeah.
Right? So they'll do that. And,
depends
and
what
actually,
I'm eating.
sometimes, not every time. I mean, I'm sure there are people that circumvent all of the things you hear in this very list. But sometimes Americans won't even use a knife, right? You'll just see them scoop something up, maybe a potato. We won't go through the entire list
how do you
again.
cut meat?
Put it in their mouth. If they want to cut up things in that way, sometimes they'll do it with the fork, right? Don't recommend it with plastic forks.
Oh, you know what? A lot of the time I cut with the fork, but not meat, obviously. But like, for example, potatoes or like vegetables, you know what I mean? Like soft
you can get through these pretty quickly if you do that. But if they do use a knife, they may turn the fork like this into the potato and then cut like that. You've got it there. You turn it back around. It's in your gob, and there you go. Bob's your uncle.
Oh, I think that's what I do then, because I said that I said that I hold the fork and I don't hold it to the palm. I hold it like outwards, and I like cycle between both. So that's what I do.
Potatoes and. You know, that's what a lot of Americans do. My father-in-law, though, did this. He had it like that and like that. He'd turn it that way, and then like that. It sort of looked, I should tell you that my in-laws were cavemen, but it was through those very cavemen / dear relatives of my wife that I was first introduced to our next entry.
You imagine just eating it like you're stomping on it. You're pounding it.
Yes,
saying grace.
Right. This one is quite a tough entry in many ways.
Is this actually really common in America? Like before dinner and stuff?
Because, you know, in order to talk about it, I do have to somewhat generalize. And also, I don't have much data to back up what I'm about to say. It's more observationally driven, right? So when I lived in England for 27 years of my life, I don't say that with disdain. It was a good time. But in all that time, I don't really remember sitting down to a dinner function of any kind and really sort of saying grace beforehand. In other words,
yeah, same. I'm pretty sure I've never ever done it.
Kicking off the meal with a sort of faith-based thanks. Now, part of that, and again, this is where the generalization comes in, so bear with me, but in England, we tend to be less sort of like publicly open, or just sort of even privately open, if you can be, among your family members about your religious beliefs. Whereas in the United States, I think people are more sort of proud of that, whatever their religious faith is. And so sometimes in some families, and this again could be regional, so I might well be generalizing, but some families, including the extended relatives that I married into, I didn't marry them, I married into the family. Some families, and I gather maybe quite a lot of families here in the United States, particularly at special events like Thanksgiving or maybe even a homecoming of some kind, will sort of say grace before the meal. And usually one family member who stands up and says it on behalf of the entire group, and then you say amen and go about your way. For me, it was quite weird at first, I think. Now, I'm very respectful of other people.
Yeah, it would be very weird for me as well. Like, let's say I went to America and I was doing it, but only because I wouldn't know what's like going on. Do you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't really know what to do. I've seen it in like movies. Do you like hold hands and then put a head down and then you just listen to what they say and then say amen at the end?
The people's religious beliefs. I didn't really know what to do except just sort of sit there.
Right, yeah.
And then wait for it to be done. And then, because I had half a mind on the turkey. So what are you going to do? And because I'm generalizing here, it's important for me to say that this is my experience. I'd be very interested to hear other people's experiences, other Europeans' experiences. Yeah,
let me know. Let me know if you're from the UK and if you ever done grace. And then let me know from America if this is very like a normal thing for you and how often would you do it?
Of coming here and maybe having to say grace when they're not used to it. Or, you know, Americans that don't themselves practice this. I've also heard it can go one step further here where the whole family holds hands. You know, I definitely draw the line at that.
Yeah, that's what I've seen on movies and stuff.
Especially right now. The best way that I can put this for British people watching back home is, you know, in football when, you know, somebody dies and they have a minute's silence within the stadium, and then when the minute's silence is up, they all erupt in applause and all of that. It's kind of like that, minus the applause. You know, it's just an amen. But the energy after that is great because you all want to tuck into your food. And because the energy's so good, that leads us on to our next entry.
Table chat.
I don't mind a bit of chatter and exceptionally weird noises. And at an American dinner table, you're going to get a lot of chatter. Usually, again, this is another generalization, but on the whole, this is my experience. And I'm one of those people who doesn't think that Americans are always loud, as the stereotype dictates. But one exception tends to be in restaurants, right? I do hear the volume go up there as compared to Britain, where it feels like we're always battling with this war within ourselves to not air our dirt.
Do you know what? Listen, I just need to be in America. Should I tell you why? Because anytime I go out for dinner, right, I have to be told to be quiet by the people that I'm with because I'm too loud. That's how it is in the UK. If I'm too loud, it could be seen as like embarrassing or whatnot. You know what I mean? I always, throughout my whole life, had to be told to be quiet. I'm just having a good time. You know what I mean? I'm talking, I'm chilling, I'm having a good time, eating food, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I think just like, yeah, in the UK, everyone, they can't be loudish, but they don't want to be that too loud to the point where like other people were hearing what they're saying. Whereas I don't care. I'm not bothered. Just, you're having a good time. You're out in public, you know what I mean? It's like, if they want to be loud, sure, you be loud. It's the environment. Boom. Eat your food. Not bothering anyone. But yeah, interesting. I just need to move to America, I reckon. I feel like I'll fit in better there than here.
Laundry in public. I'm not saying we don't talk at dinner tables. Don't get me wrong. It feels observationally once again, and again, there's no data on this. There's not somebody going around measuring the decibels in every restaurant in either country, especially right now because they're all closed. But that's my general experience of it. Now, I could be getting thrown off course a little bit here because, you know, my wife's family are really loud. Don't tell them I said that, although this is a public video. They know it's true. I've told them before, and that's why we've not spoken in a year. But here in America, you might be in a restaurant, sitting down with just one other person, trying to have a quiet, intimate conversation, and to your right there's this really loud family with a 5-year-old running around with a stupid hat on that he got from the restaurant, right? So they're further enhancing the volume of said family. And then on the other side,
you're in public
now. Clearly what is a date happening, and the woman is just sitting there quietly looking quite glum, while the man very audibly and haphazardly talks about all of the Fortune 500 companies he's worked for, and she stares into space, presumably thinking of all the ways that she can get out of there. But on the other hand, once you do get used,
is he talking from experience like right now? Because it sounded too real.
To that sort of raised volume, it does add to the atmosphere, you know. And if you're already in a good mood and you enter somewhere where, you know, thousands, oh, that's a huge restaurant, hundreds,
yeah, that's
maybe,
a big
where
restaurant.
There's lots of people and they're in a good mood, and it just sort of bounces off the walls, you know. But speaking of restaurants, that brings us on to our next entry. Servers. My heart does go out to all of the servers and anybody else to whom this applies around the world who can't go into work right now. And a huge thank you to delivery servers who are able to keep people fed who might need it. But, you know, back
this is during COVID,
when the restaurants were still open, there was quite a marked difference between, you know, British servers and American servers, and the way they sort of conduct themselves at the dinner table while you're eating your dinner. In Britain, they're quite standoffish, and I know that's just a trait of British people in general. I get that, but they don't have the incentive, which we'll talk about in a minute, to constantly be coming back to your table and seeing how you're doing, checking if you need.
Honestly, this is so true. I literally went for food the other day, right? And I like to have drinks whilst all the time. I freak out when it's not a drink. So like, for example, I got a drink right now. If I didn't have a drink here, I'd be freaking out. I always have to have a drink with me. So whilst I'm eating, especially, my coat's gone low, and I'm there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, looking around, waiting for the person, the server. Can't find them nowhere. They might pass me by. I'm not looking, right? They can see that the drink is low and stuff. And yeah, it just takes a while. It takes a while to get the top up. And UK servers, you can get some really good ones, obviously. But most of the time, it's slow.
Need a refill on that water because you probably won't get one anyway. I'm joking. Of course, you'll get a free refill on your water, just nothing else. Yeah. Often, know this. If you want their attention, you're going to have to get their attention yourself. And that includes when it comes time to pay the bill. Whereas in the United States, and each restaurant has its different policy on this, you know, the waiting staff will come to your table every 5 minutes, usually, just to see how you're doing. And it seemingly doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a seriously one-sided conversation about the Fortune 500 companies you've worked for. They will still come over and go, hey, what's up? How's that tenderloin working out for you? And there are a couple of big reasons, I think.
Is that what you sound like?
American serving staff do this. Firstly, the company often dictates it. It's seen as a kind of data-driven way of, you know, having good customer service. But having good customer service could well dictate this.
It is good, though. Yeah, and they get the tip. It is good because, like, you always need something, right? I feel like in the UK, I feel like it's like, people feel like it's rude to interrupt the conversation. I don't think it is. Like, if I'm eating and I really need some more drink or whatnot, I'd want them to keep coming up. Maybe not come, maybe if I'm like eating my food, right? And they're coming up constantly and staying long. Do you know what I mean? That would be a problem. But if they came up and said, oh, how's the food, blah, 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 do you need anything? No, I'm okay. Right, cheers. You know what I mean? If they was coming up whilst I'm mid-eating and it was staying for ages, my food's going cold. Can you please leave? But other than that, yeah, just keep coming up.
Have they tried antifreeze with that? No. Well, he might go back to his milk phase eventually. Yeah. Yeah. So the dreaded tip, or at least it was dreaded to me when I first moved to America, actually, when I landed at Philadelphia Airport. This is the first time I remember having to sort of navigate the American tipping system. Right. Because I bought a drink at a bar at that very airport. And having bought the Jack Daniels, or 6, I'm not a good flyer. I turned to the gentleman next to me and I asked him, how does tipping work? And, you know, he very, very kindly offered, well, whatever the amount is on your receipt, just give them 85% of that. And that's about good. That's standard.
What?
That was a lie. And I ended up almost bankrupt. Firstly, in the United States, regardless of the amount, it's very much expected that you do tip, because that's basically how servers make their wage.
What is the standard rate? Like between 10 and 20%?
And the standard amount that you're expected to tip is the complete opposite of 85%. It's 15%.
Oh,
right?
15.
But if you thought it was good service, or just to be sort of a good person, really, you can definitely tip more than that.
What if it was really, really bad service? Like, would you be okay not tipping? Like, if it was the worst service ever, that never came up, never checked if you know what I mean?
Typically tip. Just try saying that after 6 whiskeys. I did that night. I typically tip, particularly if I'm on a trip, 20%, or, you know, I might even round up to 21 if it kind of requires it. Tipping of some kind is expected here. In the UK, if you're thinking of going there, firstly, don't do that right now. But, you know, if after all this blows over, you are fancying going to the UK, then you're not required to tip.
No, not all.
Right? I mean, people get paid a sort of living wage, more or less.
No one does it.
Being a server in the UK.
Well, I say no one does it. There will be some people that will do it, but most people don't.
It's good practice. You know, if you want to do that, you certainly can. 10% is recommended. And, you know, growing up in the UK, I never really did tip all that often, I must say. I think if I were to live there now, I probably would do so a bit more. It's not expected. I mean, servers aren't going to expect you to tip.
Nah.
Although, if they hear your accent and you are American, their ears might prick up a bit thinking, here comes a payday.
Oh,
right?
Whereas... This is what it was on about there.
It's the other way around here. As soon as servers hear a British accent, they must be filled with dread. Or maybe that's not true. Maybe servers hear a British accent and think, he's ripe for manipulation. You know, I've had some bad experiences. That's it for this episode.
Thank you
for joining me today. And, you know, it's kind of sad that I couldn't practice a lot of these things for the video, except for the knives and forks.
Oh, yeah, it would have been good to go to a restaurant and do this.
You know, and those were the last plastics I have. As ever, a reminder that you can keep up with me.
But that was a great video. Really interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more content. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/LVG. If you guys want to check me out over there, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.